Hi, everybody. As you're saying, I'm working with Dublin City Council, and I just thought I'd talk about climate change. You know, carbon isn't necessarily good or bad, but too much carbon in the wrong place is heating up the planet. So in Dublin City Council, our approach to sustainability is guided by 4 principles. So in order for me to remember them, I used C for each of them, but you might look at the top left, you might call that carbon. It's where you're taking out resources from, mining, etc., mineral resources, and concentrating them where they shouldn't be. So carbon's a perfect example. Here we have synthetic chemicals. So I think people probably have heard of dioxins. So these are chemicals that aren't, found in nature, but we create them where they're byproducts of processes that we use to make the stuff around us. We don't have to, and so in Dublin City Council we try and provide products, and that's the aim. I mean, it's very complicated, but byproducts that have synthetic chemicals in them where not completely necessary. Down at the bottom, I thought about it as to cultivate, because what's happening a lot is that it's a bit like the Joni Mitchell song, paving over paradise and putting up a parking lot. The problem is that we're ruining our means of production. So we have that problem now, I guess, in Ireland with ghost estates, where you're kind of thinking, well, instead of paving it over, we should turn it back to agriculture in terms of, our future resilience and sustainability. And then the bottom right is to always remember culture. There's no point in any of this. No point in having, you can say maybe for the birds and the bees, but in terms of human beings, it's about respecting culture and not doing any of these conservation things if they impinge on people's livability and happiness. So in Dublin City Council, you probably know that we're going to have to install water meters. There are water meters installed for businesses already. For houses, joy of joys, we're all going to have to pay for water, but in reality, it's probably going to mean that we use less water, and that's very important for Dublin because, as some of you might know, we've got a plan to take water from Lough Derg, so from the Shannon, bring it into the Midlands, create a water park, create employment, and then pipe that water into Dublin, because what you don't realise is that Dublin is actually, despite all the rain, we have too little water. Then this is Father Collins Park. I'm not sure if anybody's visited that, but you can see down the middle of it, it's got wind turbines. So it's Dublin's sustainability park. So the energy needs of the park are mainly provided for by the wind turbines. Obviously, when the wind blows, you don't get anything when the wind doesn't blow, which is a big problem with wind energy. And whereas biodiversity, it's often not considered as much as it should be. The ecosystem services from biodiversity, if we didn't have them, if we didn't have the bees, we wouldn't have agriculture. So they're fantastically important, even in the city. This is, it's about transportation, but I just couldn't not put up that slide because I think it's absolutely brilliant. But in terms of transportation, Dublin City Council is doing quite good things, I think. Anybody who's used a Dublin bike can attest to that. Dublin bikes are one of the most successful city bike schemes in the world. Generally, you'd get about 6 uses per bike in most cities. In Dublin, it's 12 uses per bike, so it's going to be expanded. Also, we're trying to not travel by air as much, so the Lord Mayor and myself teleconferenced into a conference in Vancouver during the week instead of flying there. Now, I've never been to Vancouver, so there's downsides to all of this as well. Then waste. So this is what's called a MRF, Materials Recovery Facility. When you put your stuff into the recycling bin, it goes into one of these blowers, magnets, tremels, the things that shake around to separate out all the different types of materials. What you really want is clean separations, so you can then sell that on and get money for it, and it makes your recycling cheaper. Another thing that we're probably going to put in is an incinerator. So that's going to take 600,000 tons of waste, which is a lot of waste. So we'll see how that goes. But something that's good about it, whether you like docks and whether you like incinerators or not, because one thing that can happen is you make those nasty chemicals called dioxins. But one good thing is that the heat generated from burning the rubbish is going to be used in the local community. Money. This is all on everybody's mind at the moment. In Dublin City Council, we spend an awful lot of money on wages and also on materials. And in fact, there's more carbon embodied in our supply chain, in the pencils and the staplers and whatever that we buy into the council than for the actual movement of our people. So that's a huge, big issue. And there's more support coming from Europe to allow us to be able to specify environmentally conscious products, because we can't just do it when we want to do it, because that would be anti-competitive. because we wouldn't import from certain countries or from certain producers. But Irish industry is going to have to wake up to this, because in Europe they're asking companies to provide information on their sustainability, what their carbon policies are, and Irish firms often don't have any and aren't getting the contracts. So it's a real competitiveness issue. And the people. So in Dublin City Council we produced our first sustainability report, and you can look at that at your leisure. And these guys did a great flagship. Energy, we're doing huge amounts of things in energy. I just really wouldn't be able to go through them all, but we're also looking at voluntary carbon offsets and trying to make the IFSC in just down the road to be a green location, so a green community, but also that we will become a world leader in carbon credits for the voluntary market. So not the mandatory market, but the ones that you would offset your own travel to America, for example. That's kind of like a Wild West industry at the moment. There's no proper regulation, because we're good, 80% of aircraft leasing comes through Ireland. People don't realise that. We're very good at that type of thing. And then it's about everybody getting involved. So another thing that we're trying to do is having, a social carbon credit scheme. Okay, thank you.